Have you ever questioned the nature of your reality?
Jonathan Nolan has been giving a bunch of interviews, and one thing he said was extremely shocking to me. So this is from a story in the Hollywood Reporter. Jonathan Nolan is ready to unleash Fallout and finish Westworld. What? What is he saying here? So in this interview with Jonathan Nolan, the Hollywood Reporter, the question is asked of Jonathan Nolan, who is one of the creators behind Fallout. Is there any possibility that Westworld's original planned ending will be dramatized in any form, whether as a graphic novel or a movie or anything? Do you still have hope for that? Question mark. Jonathan Nolan's response, yes, 100%. We are completionists. It took me 8 years and a change of director to get Interstellar made. We'd like to finish the story we started. Really shocking that he's still thinking about this. And also, by the way, it retroactively makes more sense, his comments, or Evan Rachel Wood's comments about them not giving away the ending to her, because in a previous Decoding TV episode, we discussed how Evan Rachel Wood really wants to know what the ending of Westworld would have been, and the creators refused to tell her. And we said, hashtag justice for Evan Rachel Wood. And it turns out they have a good reason for that. It's because they are still dreaming of actually maybe finishing it somehow. Patrick Klepek, what was your reaction when you heard that?
One, that was a very diplomatic response. I also thought it was fascinating that he used the word completionist, because I've read a handful of interviews of his over the course of this Fallout press tour, and it's like abundantly clear he's a longtime video game fan. Like, that's a huge part of his involvement here. Is not just, this is a good script and some creatives I've liked. Like, he cares about Fallout as a property, as a world, and he cares about video games as a medium. I mean, lots of Westworld is very much influenced by like open world game design. So I'm none of this is shocking to anyone that has watched his work over the past decade. But completionist is a term that is used by video game fans because they are obsessed with finishing things like trophies, 100%ing a game. And I couldn't help but, when hearing that word, wondering if there's a bit of his approach to video games that he then is taking to this approach to finishing the narrative of Westworld, which is, most people don't finish video games, but lots of people that love video games, once you start it, you want to see where that story ends. And the idea of getting to chapter 11 of 12 and just not finishing it doesn't make a lot of sense. It would be like infuriating to not see how it ends up. And he seems to, taking that completionist attitude to the story that he's crafted, I think it's kind of a fascinating insight to Jonathan Nolan as a creative. And I don't think that word is, I think it's used with precision. It's kind of revealing about his thoughts on storytelling and the like.
Now, Patrick Klepek, are you a completionist when it comes to video games?
No, never have been. Certainly not with kids, which heavily restricts my free time. But no, I like to sit down, like feel like a sense of progress in a game. I do like to finish stories. Like, I am a completionist in the sense that when I start a story, I like to see it through. But, you know, games where you open up a map and there are 9,000 icons, like, what's the glowing icon that gets me to the next main part of the story? That's the one that I'm following.
Because in video games, you can complete the story and not complete all of the quote-unquote trophies or goals of the game. There's all these often very side quests. There's often just one-off tasks to do. My brother is a completionist. He will 100. I think one of the terms you can use is called 100%ing a game. Right, you getting 100% of the trophies or the achievements of a game. I am not. I think it's just because some of those are really, really tough. Right, some of those tasks can be really obscure, or it's like, talk to this one guy that you met one time 3 hours ago in the game, and then you got to backtrack all this way to find this guy,
or just time. Like, it's less difficult or obscure as much as it's a time investment. Like, it's going to take just hundreds of hours. I have a buddy of mine who he is very much a completionist, only plays really open world games, but plays them in the most bizarre way possible, at least from the way I play video games. But like, when he gets a new Assassin's Creed, which is his favorite series, opens up the map, looks at all the icons, ignores the story, does all of the icons, everything you can do in the game, and then begins the story. At which point he is now, level 90, a god, and just like waltzing through the main story content. But to him, the checking off all the little icons is the appeal of being in the world, and then the story is just a thing to do to sort of say that you've actually finished it.
I went from being angry at Jonathan Nolan for not telling Evan Rachel Wood the ending of Westworld to now being sympathetic to Jonathan Nolan.
It's principle, right?
Because it's probably eating away at him that he has not been able to finish the story. And I am really curious, like what format the show, the completion of it will take. He doesn't hint at what that might be. But it could be anything. Could be a movie. Could be a comic book. Could be a 5-minute YouTube video of him explaining what the ending would be. It could be anything.
It'll be like in one of those Wired videos where like they're like reading off like autocomplete questions, like
right.
Google searches, like how did Westworld end? Like 4 years from now, and he's like, yeah, I guess I'll just do it here. So here's what we intended for a season.
It'll be in the GQ.
Don't tell Evan Rachel Wood though.
Yeah, it'll be in the GQ video of like Jonathan Nolan evaluating his career. And by the way, here's how Westworld would have ended. But
I mean,
anyway.
I do think he's giving it time, right? Like, who knows what conversations he's hasn't had with HBO. Obviously, Westworld was a huge part of. Like it was the blockbuster that HBO had, especially as Game of Thrones was winding down. Those two shows were like in parallel. It's not just like where you go to HBO for like best in class television. Like, no, you come for like best in class television, but also like huge blockbuster spectacle storytelling. And so however Westworld ended, my guess is they still value him as a creative. And I wonder if he's just sort of holding out a candle for an opportunity that hasn't quite been snuffed out. And until that happens,
right?
Why spill the beans on how the story is going to end if there is a chance that, who knows, maybe part of this experiment is like it goes off to Tubi. Hey, turns out like give some people a break from the show, get a little nostalgic about Westworld, and maybe there's an I don't think any of these things are going to happen. I think this is more just the door was shut on it and he's processing the door being shut. But maybe there is a world where, you give it a couple of years and people forget that they didn't like the last couple seasons of Westworld, and you know what I mean. But that's why I stopped watching.
But here's the thing.
But if they told me like one more thing of West, I was like, okay, I'd probably come back for that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, as you indicate, Fallout is on Prime Video, and so he's obviously not spending all this time working with Warner's on a Mac show at this point, although he very well may in the future. But also, this interview may be a signal flare itself. It may be like some exec at HBO reads this and it's like, oh, I guess, maybe we should dig the old Westworld out of the closet and see what's up there. It's also very possibly contingent on how well Fallout does. Like maybe Fallout gives him a lot of juice, and maybe he's like, hey, I want to make the end of Westworld. We know that no one will watch it. We know it will be unprofitable, but maybe they do it just to
as a solid, like, hey, I'm going to do another show. As a package.
Right.
You can imagine scenario. Like that's how we talked about it previously, that HBO has often done their creative solids to let them finish a story. Even if it is obvious, it is just a solid to the creative and the story itself, which is what made the cancellation so shocking, because it's just not usually, I was more expecting, it's gone from a season order to a 4-episode limited series, but it lets them finish the story. And instead it's just completely done. So I think you're right that maybe there's a chance that Fallout blows up and it's like, oh man, we'd love to have Nolan's name on something again. And Westworld gets a shot.
Well, we'll see what happens there, but interesting. This is not something I expected at all. And hopefully he will get the chance to conclude the story of Westworld. Hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.